ago in Ireland, there lived a man who was a great lover of the music. Now, if you've ever been to Ireland, you may have noticed that music is more a part and parcel of normal everyday life than it is here. If you ever go to the pubs, music is something that just happens along with everything else. And people are talking and drinking their pints at the same time, but they're also tapping their feet and tapping their jars on the table. Children are there amongst them, and you will also know that children are the ones that are taking lessons starting at an early age to play fiddle or viola, which is what they call the penny whistle, or any of the other instruments that are known in Irish music. But this man, he in particular loved the music, and whenever there was any music being played, he was there in the thick of it, and one of the last to leave. And so it was rather late one night when this man was finally following the road home after a wonderful session. Tunes were humming in his head, and he was thinking about how he had to get up more early than he perhaps felt ready to the next morning, but he had regretted not one moment of the sleep he had lost. And then, as he walked along, he heard something faintly far off in the distance. It was the sound of music, so far off he could barely hear it, but so lovely that it called to him. And almost by themselves, his feet seemed to leave the road he was on and start to cross the countryside, following the sound of the music. It grew stronger as he went across the countryside, through the valleys and the glens and onto the hills. And then he found a particular hill that he was climbing up. As he got close to the crest of the hill, he saw an ancient ring of standing stones. And the music seemed to be coming from within that ring. And so he walked up to it, carefully, from behind one of the great stones. And as he peered around the stone, there, in the middle of that ring of stones, there was a whole host of little people. They reached no higher than his kneecap. These were the wee folk that he had heard so much about. And they were all dancing and having a wonderful time. And over on the far side of the ring of stones were the musicians. And they were playing that tune that had brought him there. Oh, it just filled his heart. He said, that tune is so lovely. If I could learn to play that tune, I would play that tune and no other for the rest of my life. And what a happy man I'd be. But as he tried to listen more carefully, he realized that the music wasn't getting to him clearly enough to learn. Somehow it seemed to be coming to him through a barrier. Maybe it was the dancers closest to him. They were making quite a racket. So he thought maybe if he crept around the outside of the ring, maybe he could get closer to the music and hear it better. So he crept around the outside. He knew that the little people were shy of the big folk like him, so he didn't want to disturb them at all. So he got to the other side of the ring, and it happened that the wee folk that were playing the music were underneath a bush. So he kind of eased out between the stones and snuck up behind the bush. They were just on the other side, and he listened closely. But he still couldn't seem to hear it clearly, and so he bent over and leaned down the bush a little. Still couldn't hear it clearly enough, and he leaned a little bit more of his weight on it, and a little bit more because he still couldn't hear it clearly, and a little bit more, and then the bush broke, and he fell and dispersed the little people. But they all vanished in the wink of an eye. Oh! He picked himself up and he looked around. He said, "No, come back, it's only me, I meant you no harm." "Oh, you great clumsy Omadon." Oh, here you hear the little people, you hear one of their special tunes, and then you frighten them off. I hardly know what to make of it. What's this? There, gleaming in the moonlight, was something shiny. He leaned over and he picked it up. And he saw that it was a gold ring. But a gold ring so tiny it would hardly fit over the finger of a little baby. I found a ring. Would he come back and claim it? I don't want it to be lost. Oh, they're gone. He looked for a place where he might leave it, where it might be found, but he saw no place where he had any hope that it wouldn't be as lost as it was before. For want of a better idea, he put it in his pocket handkerchief, put it in his pocket, brought it home with him, trying to hope that he would come up with a better idea. Well, putting one foot in front of the other, he found his way home. He tumbled into bed exhausted. He set about his work the next day, but the thought of the ring and the glimmering of that tune that he just couldn't quite summon back to memory haunted him. And then he knew what he had to do. He had to return to that same spot the next night. And so he did. One way or another, he found his way back. And he found it as empty as he left it the night before. I thought I might have better hope tonight of finding something, someone. Maybe if no, that wouldn't work either. I might as well go back home. I'll have to think of something else. I don't want them thinking I'm a thief. They might give me bad luck. I wouldn't want them to think ill of me, but what can I do here? I'll just turn around. There, standing in front of him, was a little man. "How you frightened me," he said. Yes, I did. That was my intent. Well, said the man, I came. I'm very sorry. I wanted to apologize. You see, I happened on your music last night. "Happened on our music," said the little man. "You squashed it is what you did." Yes, man. I wanted to come back because, you see, I found this, and I wanted to see that it was returned to its rightful owner. And he held out the little ring and gave it to the little man. The little man reached up and took it and said, thank you very much. This puts a different slant on things. It shows you're a cut above the big folk we usually hear about and deal with. It shows that you're honest and thoughtful. Well, this has been missed. I tell you what, you've done us a favor. We'll do you a favor in return. We'll give you a wish. Any wish you might wish for. But you don't even have to tell me. I mean, after all, what do all the big folk ever wish for? Gold! Well, it's easily enough arranged, and we'll honor the tradition. Wait, said the man. It's kind of you to be offering me gold, but if you were to offer me the wish of my heart, that's not what I'd be wishing for. Gold isn't good enough for you, is it? Well, I suppose, Mr. High and Mighty, that you're going to be asking for a great castle and land and cattle and all kinds of riches and power. Don't you think that's a bit much for returning a wee gold ring? The man said, no, you don't understand. That's not the wish I'd be wishing for either. Oh, no, said the little man, you'll be wishing for something far more grand. You better tell me what your wish is right now, or I'm going to faint on the spot. The man said, well, I don't know if this is a great wish or a small one, but it is the wish of my heart. You know that tune you were playing last night? It's what brought me to you. That tune. I'm a musician of sorts, not the best in the world, but I love the music. And that tune was so beautiful, it seemed to make me forget all my cares and take me to a different place, a magical place. The little man said, is that the way of it, eh? Well, you see, it's no small thing you're asking for. That is our very own tune. And for ages, it has not been even heard by mortal ears until you heard it last night. And the man said, is that the way it is? Well, I was afraid it might be something like that, but be that as it may, if that's not the wish you can be giving me, thank you kindly. I'd as soon have no wish at all. Good night to you. Well, not so fast, said the little man. I'm just after thinking. You big folk are getting more and more crazy all the time. You're always rushing around, You're always got this list of things you think you have to do and things you think you have to have. And you're getting more and more away from the things that make life worth living. The beautiful things. The kindness. The dance. The music. The stories. What in Gaelic we call the crack. So, it's easily enough done. And that tune might do some good in your world. And so the little man gave him a wink and he disappeared. But no sooner had he disappeared than he reappeared. And he had a timpan with him, a dulcimer. And he began to play. That's the tune, said the man. Oh, the man just felt that tune come in through his ears and sent a tingling that went right down to the ends of his toes. He was all ablaze with that tune, and he was dancing around. He was transported with joy. He couldn't help himself. He said, "That's the tune. I'd love to hear the tune again." And the man finished playing it one time through, gave him another wink, and disappeared. "Wait," said the man. "One time through? I heard it several times through last night, and I didn't learn it then. How can you say I'm talking to the empty air? I've heard that the little people like to play tricks on you. I suppose this is one of those. Well, what can you do?" He turned around and he set on his way home. Well, he realized that his heart felt lighter in spite of not getting to learn the tune, because he had returned the ring, and he had got to hear it, and he had seen one of the little folk again. That gave him a tale to tell. So because he was feeling easier in his heart, he began to whistle. And he realized, to his joy and amazement, that the tune he was whistling without even thinking about it was the tune that he had wanted to learn, the one that had drawn him to that gathering the night before. And he realized then that the magic of the little people must have been at work, that once they want you to learn one of their tunes, they only have to play it for you once. And then you have to. So he ran home, picked up the first instrument he could get his hands on, and he played that tune over and over and over and over until he fell into bed exhausted. Now, that man played that tune over and over again the rest of his life, and he never grew tired of it. And he taught that tune to many others because they came from the length and breadth of Ireland to learn it from him. And it traveled all over the world from there. Now, maybe you're thinking that man was a fool for wishing for a tune when he could have wished for riches and power and glory. But think about all the joy that man had with that tune, and all the joy that he has brought around the world, and even to us here tonight, because that's the way too the tune came to us that's known as the gold ring.